That was a spicy hand. Today I'm on my way to the Aria Hotel and Casino to play poker at one of my favorite venues in the world, the PokerGO Studios. Big event kicks off today, so let's get to it. Today I'll be playing event number 1 of the Poker Masters series, which is part of the PokerGO Tour. To earn one of the seats in the PokerGO Tour Championship in January, I'll need to crack the top 40, and right now I'm well outside the top 100. The 2025 PokerGO Tour is a collection of nearly 140 poker tournaments, most of which are $10,000 buy-in or above. The vast majority of these take place in Las Vegas, and it's where many of the top tournament players come to do battle. Every time a player cashes in one of those events throughout 2025, players earn PGT points, and those points count towards a season-long leaderboard. At the end of the season, the top 40 on this leaderboard are invited to compete in the PGT Championship tournament. For the championship, the players put up no money, and instead the PGT provides $1 million for the players to compete for, which will eventually be distributed to the top 6 finishers. I had fairy tale success in the 2024 season as I won the leaderboard and then went on to somehow also win the PGT Championship. But 2025 hasn't been quite as rosy for me. Although I have enjoyed some successes on the year, most of them did not take place on the PokerGO Tour. So looking at the current leaderboard, I'm way down in 150th place. That means I have a lot of work to do if I'm going to get into the top 40 this year. There are a little over 40 events remaining on the year, so anything is possible. The PGT Poker Masters, which is a series of 10 high-stakes, no-limit hold'em tournaments. The overall player of the series will win the beautiful purple jacket plus a lot of cash. I will be competing in this, and I hope to win it all, which would help move me up and hopefully break into the top 40 of the PGT leaderboard. Near the end of level 1, I get into a hand with Steven Song. I have aces in the small blind. We're about 100 big blinds deep. I choose to limp this time. I'm happy to see him reach for chips, and he makes a pretty big raise to 4.5 big blinds. I definitely don't like calling out of position this deep, so I come back with a re-raise to 20 big blinds. He calls fairly quickly, and we take a flop. The flop is Jack 10-9, all clubs. Not the one I'm really looking to see with red aces. I don't think I can really start putting much money in here, as this flop is really right on top of his range that would call a 3-bet, so I decided I'm best off to just check. He bets a little over 1/3 of pot, and I don't have much to do but put in a call. The turn is an offsuit 3. I check again. He sizes up this time and bets about 40% of the pot. We're only playing 100,000 roughly to start this hand, and 28,000 represents a good portion of our remaining stacks. So as much as I don't like it, I don't really want to continue here, and I let go of the aces. Of course, he'll have some bluffs once in a while, like King 7 suited, non-clubs, or random low pocket pairs, but I just decide to let this one go and go to the next hand. Okay, now we're in level 3, and I face a raise from Shannon Shore. He raises in the hijack. I'm in the big blind with about 35 big blinds. I defend Queen 10 offsuit. The flop is 9-8 deuce, and I check, which I'll always do on this flop. He bets somewhere on the larger size, about half pot. Now, I decide to get a little tricky and not just call every time with the 2 overs and a gut shot. I decide to mix in a check raise this time. I make it about 2.5, what he had originally bet. Unfortunately, I'm met with resistance as he decides to put in another raise on the flop to about double what I had raised. Now, we're only playing about 65,000 to start the flop, and he's put in 27,500. So that represents quite a big portion of our stacks already. I do block some of his hands that really want to do this for value, like pocket queens and pocket tens, but he can have several other overpairs. I could get a bit crazy and shove if I thought he was weak, but without any good reasons to do so, I have better semi-bluff candidates like open-ended straight draws, so I decided to just give this one up. As level 4 rolls around, I've continued to get whittled down, not winning many pots. I do pick up 10s on the button, with 9 big blinds. There's not much to do here, but go all in. I do just that. Steven Song wakes up with ace king in the small blind.
The first all in on the vlog, very exciting.
And I hold and make a full house, which is a double up.
Oh, wait, go ahead.
23, yeah. Try to give me too much. Thought you were trying to short me probably by throwing it to me like that, you know, so the dealer doesn't mess with it.
Yeah.
I have about 14 big blinds here in the big blind, and I'm facing a min raise from the button from Big Hooney. So this is a very standard call, and the flop comes queen 8-6. I check, he decides to check behind. I'm not too surprised to see some checks from him on this board, given that I will have quite a few hands that are willing to stack off here. I don't need top pair or too big of a hand, given the shallowness of our stacks. The turn brings a 4, so at this point I have a gut shot, a big flush draw, and an overcard to the board. I get to bet a turn like this one a lot, as I have all the smaller 2 pairs and straights, and he has nearly none of them. And given the weakness of his check back on the flop, I get to be pretty aggressive on this turn. And this hand certainly qualifies for being aggressive. I put in a fairly large bet, and I'm pot committed to call. But he gives it up, and I pick up a small pot. But honestly, in proportion to my stack, it's actually quite large. These pots really add up whenever your stack goes up by 10, 20, 30%, and you pick up a little pot like this. It's quite a big deal and helps keep you afloat in the tournament. In this hand, I'm facing off against an unknown opponent in the small blind. He only has about 13 big blinds to start the hand. He makes it 2.5 big blinds, and I have an easy defend in position with king 10 offsuit. The flop is king jack 5, giving me top pair and a good kicker. He checks, and I bet 25% pot. I could get tricky and try to trap and slow play in position, but I need him to be capable of firing off a lot of bluffs on turns and rivers if I want to do something like that. In this situation, I just decided to bet because I wasn't confident in his bluffing frequencies. The turn pairs bottom pair. It's mildly worrisome anytime someone check calls on the flop and second or third card pairs. The opponent could definitely have something like that, but given the shallowness of our stacks, I can't see any other way of playing this than getting 3 streets, since he will have loads of hands I'm way ahead of. So I bet a third pot, and he calls. The river's an offsuit 7, he checks, and he only has about a third pot left, and I put him all in. He doesn't think for too long and calls me with ace jack. I bust him from the tournament and win a nice pot.
Look.
Again. A lot of discipline folds. God, I can't be teaching everyone all this stuff, you know? Jesus.
I raise the cutoff here with ace 7 of clubs. Josh R8.
Play it again, Stella.
Deuce is on the button and flats, and we go heads up to the flop. Josh has about 40 big blinds to start this hand. The flop is a seemingly good one for me as I flop top pair, top kicker, but it's quite vulnerable, giving it's only 7 high, and it also contains a 3 and a deuce. I decide to check, and Josh bets a third pot. I think the best option for me here is to play this aggressively and try to clear out any overcards he might be stabbing the flop with, so I raise to 3x's bet size. In hindsight, I wouldn't have hated if I used a bigger bet size like 4x for a little more protection, because these spots are tough to play out of position, and it can be dangerous to give him a good price and continue in position. The turn brings an offsuit jack. I debate betting again, as I still think I have the best hand a fair amount of the time, and rivers aren't easy to play out of position. I do check, and my opponent bets 35% pot. I call. The river pairs a 3, and I check again. I'm pretty relieved to see him check behind, but I quickly get the bad news that I don't have the winner as he tables pocket 8s. Luckily, I wasn't put in a tough spot on this river, as I might have had to call, as he would probably bluff some straights that missed and some other draws that missed. In this hand, I have about 13.5 big blinds. I have pocket 5s, middle position, nothing much to do here but shove. Big Hooney calls me out of the small blind. He has king queen. It's just a classic race. Unfortunately, this time I do not hold, and I am eliminated and sent to the rebuy cage. And on my second bullet, I have a little under 15 big blinds on the button. I have ace 4 offsuit. I think this is good enough to go all in. Big blind tanks a bit, calls with ace 7 offsuit. Not a great spot as I'm dominated. High cards on the flop.
The turn gives him a pair. I'm drawing dead, and I have been eliminated for the second time and will be done for the day.
Okay, so not a lot has been happening in the early levels of day 1B. I have about half starting stack, and the blind's already up to 2,500 small blind, 5,000 big blind, and it's folded around to the small blind who shoves 60,000. Now, 60,000 is 12 big blinds. I look down and see the queen nine suited. Obviously, it's not a premium holding, but versus a small blind shove here, it's going to be ahead enough of the time that calling should be good. And as we see here, he has the jack nine of clubs. So we have him dominated, which is obviously the best case scenario. After a clean run out where he doesn't flop any pairs or draws, we bust them with just our queen high. That brings our stack back up to a little over starting stack, giving us some much needed breathing room. So here we are a few hands later in the same level. I pick up ace jack offsuit in the hijack. Erik Seidel was not dealt in this hand since he's moving tables, but there is someone to my left. I have just over 20 big blinds to start this hand, and I min raise. Chino shoves all in from the small blind.
Repot.
Oh my God.
Daddy just needs to hold.
I'm not too excited to see. I do think about this for quite some time. He has 114,000, which is 23 big blinds. Re-entry is still open, so if I do bust, I can rebuy. Also, you never know how people are going to be playing during the rebuy period. Some guys will shove quite a lot of hands in Chino's spot, but some don't. I do decide to call, but I felt like it was a close decision. He tables pocket jacks, and after seeing a 10 high flop, I only have 3 outs plus some backdoor straight draws. But fear not as I drill the 3 outer on the turn and hold, which leaves Chino's stack quite crippled as I double up. The very next hand, I'm in the big blind and we see the hijack raises to 10,000.
On. But here,
And he moves all in.
Off of a big stack. I look down at the ace queen of spades when suddenly the small blind decides to move all in for about 25 big blinds. Ace queen suited here is going to be well ahead of the small blind shoving range. I do have to worry about Matt McEwen hijack behind me who covers my stack. If he does wake up with a big hand, that's present a problem for me, but at the end of the day, ace queen suited is just too big of a hand to let go here. So I move all in, and I'm happy to see Matt fold behind me. I'm in pretty good shape against a small blind who has king 10 of clubs. The flop brings a big pair for both of us, but I'm out in front. The jack turn also gives him a straight draw, which I partially block, but I end up holding on the river to win yet another all-in.
Professional vlogger.
In the very next hand, we're in the small blind. We see Chino Ream put the remaining of his stack in, which is 19,000. Now, this is only 4 big blinds, so when I look down at ace-4 suited in my spot, it's a continue. The question is, do I call or do I re-raise to try to push out the big blind? I decide to make a min re-raise. So Justin Zacky's in the big blind, and if I make a small re-raise, he can't continue too much garbage, which after the flop, I will be out of position, which is always tough. After quite a bit of deliberation, he puts in a 4-bet to 82,000. This puts me into the tank and forces me to use a time bank. Honestly, I don't use a lot of time banks, so anytime I use one, it's a really tough decision. I ultimately decided that Chino's range is wide, my range is wide, therefore Justin's range could be fairly wide. I didn't love it, but felt deep down Justin didn't have a big hand and fold a lot to a shove. So I 5-bet all in for about 60 big blinds. Justin snap folds, which I love to see. So I auto pick up the side pot of anything excess of 18,000 from me and Justin. I see Chino has me dominated and he flops a gut shot straight draw. I get lucky on the turn and make a pair, which puts me in the lead, but the river brings a straight in for him, so he more than triples up. Not a terrible result though, as I made money on the hand. Feel good about the read I made.
That was a spicy hand. Nice hand.
Too much to shove though. It's 300K.
It was a lot to shove.
What are you doing, my spot? Just fold.
What do you have?
King 5 of hearts.
It's kind of dusty.
And just a few hands later, while still in the same level, I pick up yet another good hand. This one is a premium, pocket jacks. This is quite a card rush, allowing me to play a lot more hands than I normally would. It's fold around to Chino after I min raise. He's in the big blind. He has 65,000. He decides his hand is good enough to go all in.
Yes, you get the fucking But he put in like half a stack, and Stevie shoves like queen 10 suited or something and just turns his hand away.
Luckily, this one's easy to play in my spot because Sam Sovereign will not shut the hell up as he tells me story after story.
Then do you know what the klutz did?
No, and I don't care.
While I try to make the best decisions to bring money home for my family, I quickly call and he has pocket sixes. My jacks hold and I send Chino to the rail as I win yet another nice hand. A couple hours later, we're in level 10, which makes the big blind 8,000. Erik Seidel raises in the low jack.
Poker Hall of Famers, Erik Seidel.
Off about 50 big blinds. I look down at a premium hand, ace king offsuit, and I put in a 3-bet to 50,000. He calls, and we see a flop of 9-8-6 with 2 clubs. He checks. I don't have a club in my hand. This isn't the best flop for my range. It hit his range fairly well. I decide just to check it back. The turn pairs the 8. Erik bets 40,000 into 120,000. I don't have much here, just ace high. I might have overcards that would probably be good if I hit them, but not too sure about that. I could just have the best hand though, as it is. I do decide to call, although it's not a spot I'm too thrilled about. The river is a 6, putting 2 pairs on board. Erik thinks for a little bit and decides to bet out 150,000 into 200,000. This is a fairly large bet at 75% of the pot. He's repping pretty big hands like queens, jacks, tens, maybe pocket nines for a full house, maybe some combos of trips. Some of those big pocket pairs might have 4-bet pre-flop though. There are a number of misdraws. To call, it costs me about half my stack, so this will be a pretty pivotal pot in the tournament if I call. Erik is obviously a poker legend and a great player. I decide he will find enough bluffs here, and I slide the call out. He doesn't show his hand and instead just throws it in the muck. The pot brings my stack close to a very comfortable 700,000, which is over 85 big blinds.
Oh yeah, you can't see us in the pictures, right? We should get to see all the
Okay, so a few levels later, we find ourselves on the bubble. My stack is around the same, which it was before. With the big blind being about 30K now, I have a little over 20 big blinds. And as you can see, I'm at a new table. Many faces I know, some I don't. An unknown player in the cutoff shoves all in 315,000. I pick up pocket jacks and small blind and have a very easy call. Unfortunately, the flop brings an ace. I do pick up additional outs on the turn as a spade rolls off, but the brick river seals a double up for her and leaves me with a bit under 500K in check. And we are still on the bubble here. The min cash is $8,600. This is a bit of a tricky spot. We have king queen suited in the hijack.
I was already kind of getting sick of Jeremy, and then he started vlogging.
But Sam's commentary makes the decision pretty easy for me. Once I hear him trash talking me, I can't imagine doing anything but shoving all in with his hand for retaliation and stealing his blind. It's never too fun to be all in on the bubble though with a non-premium hand. Luckily everyone folds and I pick up the blinds and ante.
We get to 19. Viewers, if you have an all-in call, please do not run the board out until we tell you to do so.
And a few moments later, we have another all-in on the bubble. This time, we're not involved, though. The player to my right is all-in with ace-queen in the big blind versus Sovereign's ace-king on the button. And as he's all-in, the big blind is talking about how he stone-bubbled day 1A of this tournament yesterday. That's definitely no fun. Each day was about 10 hours of play. To put in the maximum time without making the money is pretty annoying, but it really is just part of tournament poker. So with Big Slick bouncing out the ace-queen, we are now in the money and day 1B is over, and we bag our chips. Tomorrow, days 1A and 1B will combine with 35 players left.
Heading down to day 2 of this 5K 1 mil guarantee, the kickoff event at the PGT Poker Masters. Made day 2, so I'm in the money. That's the good news. I am in for 3 bullets, so still not quite profitable, but that's all right. That can change in a day or two. It can have a big score. So I don't have a lot of chips. There is about 35, 36 left, something like that, and I'm probably near the bottom. I have a little over 10 big blinds. Like, there's only so much you can do. You know, it's important to know my shoving stacks, or my shoving ranges, which I know very well, in all the spots, or reshoving stacks, what I can defend in the big blind. So, and as far as compared to most PGTs, it's definitely softer. They have quite a few satellite entries in there, so there's some good value. You know, not everyone's a super killer, so that's always nice. And yeah, just gonna play my best, hope to double, order some lunch, double some more, and hopefully we play down to the final table today, so hopefully I'll be bagging a stack for the final table for tomorrow. Yeah, see you guys.
So I started day 2 with a little over 10 big blinds, and after a level or two I find myself with about 8 big blinds. I'm in the big blind as Big Hooney raises under the gun. Steven Song calls on the hijack, and it is just a min raise. I flick in the other 40,000 with ace 3 of diamonds out of the big blind. The flop is 9-8-3, 2 hearts, giving me bottom pair. It's not great, but considering I have less than a pot size bet left in my stack, I can't see me folding this hand. So instead of checking, I decide to just lead all in. Hooney calls with ace king, which makes sense given I would be shoving a lot of my draws also. And even if I do have a pair, he has overcards. My bottom pair does end up being the winner, and I get a much needed double up. So now I'm sitting with almost 25 big blinds. I look down at ace queen offsuit and the hijack. Pretty excited to raise here. It folds around to Steven Song in the small blind. He decides to go all in. Now he covers me, so I do have to decide if I want to put my tournament life at risk here. Ultimately, I think ace queen is just too big of a hand to fold. I call. He tables pocket tens, and we have a standard race. Flop brings a little something for us both, as he flops top set, but I have a nut flush draw. The turn brings me more outs to a chop. Luckily, I river the flush for a big double up, bring my stack to the biggest it's been all tournament, around 1.5 million.
40.
In 100K?
Pure, huh?
Never lost them all in.
Only once.
Only once, yeah. Only once.
Okay, I've continued to chip up in some small pots, and I've dealt pocket threes in the small blind. The big blind is playing about 1.5 million. I limp and he checks behind. The flop brings 8-8 deuce with 2 clubs. I decide to bet out 40,000, which is 1/3 pot. The big blind raises to 140,000. I think this could mean a lot of things, and I'm not ready to fold my pocket pair at this point. The turn is an ace, and after I check, he fires out a quick bet of 225,000 into 400,000. At this point, my hand isn't looking too hot here, but something tells me I shouldn't fold quite yet. I am ahead of some draws and just some random bluffs. It is a blind versus blind spot. Ranges can be quite wide, but the board is looking pretty scary, but I do put the call in. The river is a 6 of hearts. I check once again, hoping to not see any more bets go in, as I'll be in a very tough spot. I'm relieved to see him check behind, and after I table my threes, he mucks behind. This was a very nice pot to win with a very marginal hand. I get moved to the feature table. There now are only 19 players left. We're all trying to get to first place, obviously, which is 270,000. Sam Solver raises in the cutoff, and I have 2 8s on the button. I have under 30 big blinds, and I decide I want to 3-bet, as Sam can have lots of hands here. Since his stack is so big, he can get a little out of line once in a while. Once I 3-bet, though, I'm going to be committed to call if he 4-bets. I don't think I can fold. He's good enough to find bluffs, things like that. When it gets back to him, he does indeed decide to 4-bet, but not all in, as I would expect to see a 4-bet size. He makes it smaller, and this actually looks a little bit scarier. This is going to be more of a polar range, like big hands and air type hands. Sam's a good enough player, though, that he will find the bluffs, you know, some random ace nines or something like this that will fold when I shove.
Of course, I mean, if he puts this in, it's going to be... Look at this. He makes it 1.5, which is basically all in.
So I decide that I do need to just put my stack in. I get the bad news. He has pocket queens. I don't get any help on the board. In the meantime, though, a couple players did bust. So when I did bust, it was in 17th place, so I made a little pay jump. I cashed for 16,000.
Heads to the rail in 17th place. Jeremy Ausmus ships his chips over to Sam Soverall. And as I said, the rich get richer as Jeremy Ausmus collects $16,000 for his efforts. After we also lost Adam Weinraub and Andrew Moreno in 18th and 19th respectively.
Okay, so that's going to do it for my first vlog. I did manage to earn a few PGT points and move up the leaderboard a little bit, but I've still got a long ways to go. Please leave any feedback you might have of things that you liked and didn't like, and also always feel free to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of this content. Take care.